How many of you would be willing to have cameras installed in your home? You know, these security type cameras, and installed in your car, and to wear a camera that would record every action you make, every word you utter. How would you like having a camera in your bathroom, in your bedroom? In short, how would you like to sign a contract that said that you would be watched 24 hours a day, without any breaks, any excuses, constantly? Let's not worry about who's looking at the video feed for a while, but whoever that person would be, however good-natured or trustworthy, I put it to you that not a single one of you would sign up to be watched 24 hours a day throughout your life. Even if it was to protect your own well-being. If the government said tomorrow that this was coming in, the bill would never get passed. The law would never be made, because the public outcry would be huge. You wouldn't be able to masturbate. You would feel self-conscious when you were going to the toilet. Love-making would be curtailed. Birth rates would fall. You'd have that peculiar, almost ape-like reaction of an animal in a cage too small for it to move. It couldn't turn its head without seeing the bars. And I think that would affect human beings deeply. Very much so. Now, this all comes out of the idea that I heard a theist ask, what would it take, or rather, how would we know God exists? I didn't bother commenting on the video where that question's asked, but I did have my normal reaction of thinking, well, if I was God, and the salvation of your soul depended on you believing in me, I would make damn sure you knew I was real. Trust me, there'd be a big G in the sky, or I would make, if I was omnipotent and you needed to believe in me to save you from hell, I would make sure you knew I was real. Because I'm nice. Most of the time. But then that got me thinking about the effect of 24-hour surveillance in a little more detail. And I think it would colour everything. How could you have a good meal knowing there were starving people downtown? How could you dress to impress if you felt that being humble was valued by your maker? How would you say an angry word if a judgmental God would hear it? How could you be in any way hateful or misrepresent your religion by losing control of your temper when your God is watching? I think the world would be totally different. I think people would walk around with their heads bowed. They'd be kind of miserable because there'd be so little sexual release going on. Oh, and incidentally, I think masturbation may have had a part to play in human evolution. I think as soon as we realised that we could satisfy that particular urge on our own, it freed up our energies and our mind to do, shall we say, other things. So I have yet to hear an evolutionist or a human evolutionary psychologist mention the possible importance of manual dexterity as regards the release of these urges which tend to dominate the mind if not released. So 3 cheers for beating your bishop. Masturbation may have got us to the moon. It's a wonderful thought, isn't it? But back to the thought that inspired the video. You would behave differently if a camera was watching you all day long. You would cover yourself up when you had a crap. You would watch your language. You would watch your behaviour. You would not have the wealth that you probably do have now if you believed God was watching you. It's a very similar point to ones that I've been making all along in these videos I've been doing. But the fact is that barring the odd man dressed in rags, I don't see it. I don't see any Christians behaving as if they're being watched 24 hours a day, because I believe they would be traumatized if they actually believed that that was the case, being watched by something which at a click of the fingers could destroy them or send them to hell for eternity. That would be terrifying. People ask repeatedly how these religious people can believe what they believe. And the longer I'm on YouTube, the more convinced I am that they don't really believe it. They'll say they believe it, and to some extent they want to believe it because of the comfort it offers, without really thinking too much about what it would entail. But if you actually stop to think about these, particularly I'm thinking of the Christian and the Muslim faiths, they want the reassurance, they want the life after death, they want to believe in those things, they're trying to believe in those things. The consideration of what it would actually be like to be watched 24 hours a day is very much a secondary, of secondary importance. They haven't got to thinking about that part of it yet. They haven't even got that far into their beliefs. Not really. So they're trying to believe it. And if you're trying to believe something, if you want to believe something, for a human being, a sociable animal, the best way to maybe enhance your belief or to comfort yourself about the fact that you're not quite able to believe it is if you can convince somebody else to believe it. If I believed I was Napoleon, I'd like to think there'd be a little bit of my mind going, not too sure about that. But if I could convince you that I was Napoleon, then I might think, maybe I am. Maybe I will live forever. But then, there's a limit to what people can believe, I believe. And this business about saving your soul, I'm afraid that's just a very unfortunate, almost juxtaposition of ideas. The actual psychological explanation being that you want to try and bolster your delusion by persuading another, allied with the scriptural imperative to save souls. They're both looking for the same thing, to persuade you, but they won't. They're probably not even aware that they're trying to bolster their own delusion. They probably believe they are trying to save souls. But they're not. Not deep down, not fundamentally, not where the sparks fly. Imagine how the world would look and how people would behave if they really believed, if they woke up in the morning and saw a big G in the sky and it floated down the street wherever you went. That would be enough to make you believe that God was watching, and those people would behave radically differently to how they're going to behave tomorrow morning when the alarm clock goes off. Tomorrow, watch and notice how many people think they're being watched 24 hours a day, and you won't see one. They do not believe it.